Well, hello and welcome or welcome back. I feel like one of the things we haven't really discussed on this channel is how we even got to this point where I get to have chef-made meals for me by my husband, of course, all the time. And I feel like I did have a little something to do with Mr. Smith going to culinary school because he worked for a university for a very long time before becoming a chef. And then he went to ICC in Manhattan about 2 years after we started dating. And then he left that job at the university to work in a kitchen. And he was French trained, and I would say that like our favorite food, so what he cooks most is probably Italian, but in third place would be German food. I don't know where we got it from, but I think that something about it is like hearty and rich, which he likes, but some parts of it are also kind of light and fresh, like the salad we're making today, which is a cucumber dill yogurt salad, which is also really great in the summertime, anytime, accompanying any meal. I also think it could be fun if you guys end up making this for Memorial Day. It's a nice meal to make because it is that balance of a heavy breaded meat as well as a nice fresh salad. And if you live in a place where you can't have friends over this Memorial Day or the weather sucks outside and you can't barbecue, this would be a great option to substitute. So I'll let him cook it and then I'll obviously taste it at the end and I'll see you guys at the end.
For our pork schnitzel, we're using some pork chop cut very thinly. We have some flour. I have 3 whole eggs here and panko breadcrumbs. We're gonna be seasoning with some salt and just some pepper. Most importantly though, we wanna pound these pork very, very thin, and that's what this is for. At this point, we pounded the cutlets very thin, about 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 inch. We're gonna season it with salt and pepper and get it ready for our breading station. So I've seasoned both sides of my pork cutlets here. I have my breading station ready to go, flour, eggs, panko, and I have a pan here where they rack inside, which after I bread it, I'm gonna put it right on there. This is the point where we wanna make sure we're using our wet hand and our dry hand. So this is my wet hand going into dry, dry hand. Wanna make sure that we get all the excess flour off into the wet. Wet hand comes and takes it back. Making sure we're getting the excess off. Right into my panko, where I use my dry hand once again. And at this point, we really want to press it down into the pork. Shake it off. 1 done, 5 more to go. So for our cucumber salad, we're going to start off with a cucumber. This is a hothouse cucumber. We're going to need about half of this. I have a Granny Smith apple here. We're going to cut this very thin. Same with our red onion. We're going to finish with some dill that I'm going to chop up. Yogurt, lemon, and a little bit of olive oil. The cucumber, we're going to cut it in half. We want to get out all of the seeds inside. It's just going to add extra water that we don't need. I have half an onion here. Just going to cut a little bit from each side. And just cut it nice and thin. Apple, we're going to cut around the core. Apple is done. It's going in my bowl. Now the cucumbers. Cucumbers I'm going to cut on a bias. Cucumber is going in the bowl as well. Last thing to cut is our dill. I love dill. It's fresh. It doesn't get used nearly enough. It goes really well with dairy. Have everything cut in our bowl here. We have our onions, we have our cucumber, we have our apple. We're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Now I cut this by hand, but if you have a mandolin, works great for that as well. If you're doing a lot of it, especially, you can use that. First, we're going to go in with our yogurt. I'm going to use about a cup. I'm going to squeeze half a lemon in there. We're going with about half of our dill to start. Good pinch of salt, a little more lemon. I'm just going to mix it up. This I'm going to leave to sit in the fridge for maybe a half hour to an hour, get all those flavors to blend together.
Back to the fun part of eating the final dish. And actually, if you wanted to make this with chicken, I think I might have mentioned, you can do that instead of pork. This technique for the cutlet is also what you would do to make like chicken katsu or pork katsu. So if you wanted to have this over rice instead in a more Asian themed dish, you could. And it's also the same technique for Italian food if you are making like chicken parmesan. But this altogether is kind of a German cuisine. If you guys have any other cuisines like Japanese or maybe something Asian, Thai food, or a different cuisine, let us know and we'll try to go that route for the next video. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Back to life, back to reality. Okay, our dog is walking around. Hamilton! You want to be in the shot? Come here. Okay. Okay. All right.
So we have all of our, what's in here?